So we just checked in with Goodman's, make sure that they know we're on site. We're just heading over the corkscrew now. Then we're going to head up to the reservoir and have a look at the work Fulton's been doing on getting that ready. They've had a few pours already on that site, and they've got another one at 2 o'clock today. So we'll go and have a look there. Then we're going to head down to the James Street entrance where they've been putting the cut in for the wastewater station. The crane's down there at the moment, that's getting assembled. That cut's going to help us form the James Street entrance, lift that road up, and then that main entrance way all the way through to Culvert 3, which we'll go and have a look at as well. We were down there a few weeks ago. They were defishing it, getting all the any fish potentially in the little stream there, and rescuing those and moving them across. The culvert's gone in, and they're just about ready to do the changeover, the swap to the new culvert. That's been installed, so we'll go and have a look at that, the head wall, everything as well today, see how that's going. Then we're going to shoot up to the big cut they've got up there for where we're putting the first lot of houses. They started at the bottom, they put in all the environmental controls, and they're just working their way back up the cut. So we're just driving up to this first fill we did here right at the start of the project. This fill was formed with all the material we took out of the reservoir site. So we had to dig the reservoir right down to get it off the skyline, but also too to form a flat platform to build it on. It's a huge structure. So all of that material was brought in, and we did a couple of really big gully fills. Now these gully fills here, and we're just coming up to it now, they're going to form the potential school site. That's going to be terraced. And as we look across here, you can see, it's probably even worthwhile getting out. This whole gully through here has been benched, filled, and then compacted as we've gone. So that's going to give us a structural fill. You can actually see all of the hay down there, and that's helping stabilise that. Of course, you've got the big SRPs at the bottom, plus you've got all the silk fencing to control all of that water as it comes through the fill. And they're just building their way up now. So just going to keep an eye out here, make sure I don't get sideswiped by one of these massive dumpers. And speak of the devil, here we go here. Here's the guys with the Hydroseed plant. So as we approach winter, one of our key activities is to make sure everything's stabilised. Throughout a project, there's obviously the planning. We install all the environmental protections and controls. We do the work, and then we follow up that work by stabilising the ground. The best way to stabilise it is with grass. We also use hay mulch, which is where they get a bale of hay, essentially massive bales of hay, and they spray it over, and that just controls the water as it comes on. We're also using coconut matting, which is fantastic. That protects the ground straight away from erosion. It also allows the grass to grow really fast and really thick. So that's another method we use as well. The guys up here are actually using the SRP to fill up their Hydroseed machine. So all of this green you can see as you drive around, that's us stabilising the banks and any cuts with grass, which will strike in this weather pretty quickly, and that'll stabilise that ground. So we're just following the Goodrich team down now with their Hydroseed unit, and they're going to go and Hydroseed that front batter. So we're going to jump up there and have a look and see how it all works. So we're up here at the potential future school site. This is going to be terraced through. This has been created with a gully fill from material that we brought down from the reservoir when we dug that out. This has all been benched and compacted as we've gone. And as we approach winter, of course, we're now looking to make sure all of the ground's been stabilised. There's a number of different methods to do that, and today you can see them all in action here. We've got the hay mulching, and they're off now spraying all the hay mulch along on some of the bigger areas.
Straw blower, we're using it to blow hay around on the work site to stabilise the ground. It has a big rotary drum in there, much like a mower, that mows the top off the bale, and then it's got a blower at the back which shoots it out the chute, and then you can aim that where you want it to go, and you just hope there's no golf balls in the hay. So you've got to get about 80 millimetres of hay on, and then that's considered, and then you pin it to the ground or glue it, and then that's considered much like having grass on it. The truck that you see floating around, that's that can run some polymers or glues and mixed with water. Or behind us here there's a pinner that goes behind a tractor, and that sort of has spikes that push the strands of grass back into the ground and stand them up again.
Yep.
So it sort of pins it there.
Following up behind that is the team from Goodrich, and they're doing the hydroseeding. So what the hydroseeding is grass seed. It's mixed with a paper and a polymer that sticks it all together, and that actually becomes like a bed for the grass to grow in. So it's a fantastic way. It sticks the grass seed to the ground, and then it gives it sort of a home, some bedding for it to actually germinate, and that grass will strike really quickly in this weather we've been having. So that'll stabilise the ground. The very best way to stabilise this is with grass. So the hay mulching is great. It'll give it instant stability, but that hydroseeding will actually give us that long-term stabilisation that we need throughout the winter. One of the really cool machines that they're using up here on site at Plimmerton Farms is a 740B Ejector. It's a cat dumper, but rather than the dumpers that actually, the tipping mechanism, these ones use an ejector which pushes the material out through the back. This machine's great if you're working under power lines, if you're working with slash, and it also fixes the issue of comeback material, which is a material that's stuck in the dumper that doesn't tip out. So if you're working with cohesive soils, with clays and that sort of thing, sometimes they'll actually stick in the dumper. Now if you look at this now, you can see it's actually pushing the material out rather than tipping it. One of the significant things too, of course, is with those big tip trucks, you know, and they're 40 odd tons, is when you get that weight up like that, they become unstable at times. This is quite a sloping site. There's a lot of variables. These tippers, they keep that balance really low to the ground. They push all of that material out, and it's a bit clayey at times. It can be quite sticky. So that machine's a great solution to that. So following up behind the ejector is the cat compactor with the sheepfoot on it. So they'll be pushing that material out. He's just finishing off this gully fill. He's spreading that material, but at the same time he's coming through with that sheepfoot. Those sheepfoot, they're compacting it down, punching that clay and that granular material in, and getting a really solid base to build back up. And as you can see, this is the earthen bund that's supporting that gully fill that we've been working back up, and they're just finishing that off now. So we're up here at the reservoir site and we're starting the concrete pour. I'm standing on where the foundation of the reservoir will sit. A couple of interesting things going on here. They're prepping for where the slab's going to go. This material here is the HDPE. It's a high density polyethylene. It's a very thick sort of plastic. Think of it as if we were like building a house. We would put the plastic down and then we'd pour the concrete on that. Because this is critical infrastructure, everything that we do here is going to be over the top because it's so important to the community. So with this slab here, underneath this HDPE, we have a layer of this cloth, which just basically protects the bottom of the plastic. We then put the plastic down. All the joints are sealed. So you'll notice the gentleman over there with the grinder, he's putting an edge onto this shiny plastic so that the seal will grip it and create a waterproof, if you like, mattress protector underneath the base of the reservoir. On top of that, we have another layer of cloth, and that just protects the plastic or the HDPE from the AP20, which we put on top of that. And then on top of that again, we layer 50 mil of stabilised sand. So stabilised sand is just sand that's been mixed with cement, and that'll give it a nice hard base to then pour that large reservoir foundation on. Now, that foundation pour has to be done in in one pour. What they'll do first is they'll pour the outside, and that'll be sort of like a curb, if you like, on a road, and that'll set the heights that they work to. And then that pour, they'll start about 3 o'clock in the morning and go all day and get that pour done in one go. From there, we use pre-formed concrete panels. They'll be installed around, and that'll create the sides of the reservoir. All right, so this is Matt from Fulton Hogan. Matt's the project manager up here at the reservoir. They're just about to start the pour today. Matt's going to explain to us why they've got these trenches running through underneath the slab and the reservoir and the foundations.
Yeah, so the trenches, we've got 5 of them running across the slab. They all run downhill to a manhole system. They're just really just to detect if the reservoir slab is leaking at any point. You can monitor where it's coming from and how much it's leaking.
So that's why you've basically
you've
sealed all these joints.
So it's really just a waterproofing that keeps the water in between the slab and the detection pipes.
Yep.
So the water doesn't escape to the ground. It just goes down our pipes, and you can monitor what's actually happening from the slab in one unit. The block.
The pressure must be pretty massive. coming
Well,
through.
and what they wanted to do in a seismic event is to attach it to the bottom of the slab. So if the slab moves in a seismic event, all 4 pipes move with the encasement block.
Yeah.
So after we're done with the block, we pull out the gap, the formwork around the gap there, and it creates an open gap to allow the block to move in a seismic event.
Yeah.
So all the pipes kind of move together and stay locked into the bottom of the slab.
Okay. Because this is what they call critical infrastructure, isn't it?
Yeah. I
So is
mean,
that like level 4 or whatever?
Yeah, that's right. You want people
It's
to
like
have drinking
hospitals.
water after
Yeah.
a big event. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And take us through these pipes. You've got 4 of them here. What are they?
Yeah, so starting from left to right, you've got your outlet pipe. So when the water goes out to the houses from the reservoir, it'll go down the left-hand pipe. Inlet pipe, so from the transmission main from the treatment plants, it'll get pumped all the way up here through the inlet pipe. The little one is the scour pipe. If you ever had to drain the reservoir for maintenance, goes down the little one, which actually does end up connecting into the overflow pipe. So the 4th one is basically the overflow. It sticks up above the water line, and if you ever overfill it, it'll just overtop and go down the overflow pipe.
It's a little bit like the reservoir. We've had to dig in an area into the hill to actually put the pumping station in. This platform's been laid. We're also doing the big cut that's coming through. So this area here where we're standing, this is going to be the new entrance, the main road through into Plimmerton Farm from James Street. They've started cutting that bank. In the distance you can see the green. That's where we've hydroseeded that bank, and that cut will come through and it'll cut straight through over to Culvert 3, which we had a look at earlier. And that'll leave this whole area down here, which will be our created wetland that will end up within there. It's been a hive of activity over the last 6 weeks. We've had a really good break in the weather. Just on the other side of this crane, McClutchy and Sharp have finished the temporary wastewater diversion. The wastewater pumping station is critical infrastructure here at Plimmerton Farm, and it's really big. Fulton Hogan have brought in their crawler crane. It's got the tracked undercarriage and these massive counterweights. It's such a big crane, they've actually had to bring in another crane to assemble it all together. Now the reason it's got this big tracked undercarriage is obviously an uneven construction site. This has got to move around. The wastewater pumping station has these huge tanks, so this crane here, when it's assembled, absolutely enormous. That's going to be able to lift those big tanks into place. Typically these are used for building bridges and a lot of other big construction sites, so it's going to be ideal here down at Plimmerton.